Hey everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of my graphic novel slash trade paperback overview. This is going to be my second part of my uh, Marvel side of my collection. Without further ado, let's get straight back into it. First up, we have the flagship title of the Marvel Now initiative, and that is Rick Remender's Uncanny Avengers series. This is absolutely fantastic, and I'm an unabashed fan of Rick Remender. A lot of people either really like this title, or a lot of people really don't like it. I'm one of the first. I'm one of those people that's in the latter category. I think this series is fantastic, and I will be doing a review of this first volume of the first 5 issues at some point on my channel. Sticking with Marvel now, we have All New X-Men Volume 1, Here Comes Yesterday, which again collects the first 5 issues. Brian Michael Bendis is doing a fantastic job on this series so far, and it also doesn't hurt that he's had some equally fantastic artists work with him on the series so far. We've had Stuart Immonen, who does the first 5 issues in this trade, and Volume 2, which is here to stay, which also has David Marquez along with Stuart Immonen on the artwork. Again, if you want more in-depth thoughts on this, I've already done reviews of these first two volumes of All New X-Men on my channel. Next up, we have X-Men Legacy, Volume 1, Prodigal, which collects the first 6 issues, which is written by Simon Spurrier of Six Gun Gorilla and Six Gun Gorilla. I was thinking of something else then. This is basically this series revolves around Legion, or David Haller, who's the wayward son of Charles Xavier, and it basically follows David as he tries to figure out what his late father's legacy means to him, but at the same time also battling his inner demons and trying to control his multiple personalities, which are basically personalities that can take control of his body and all have every different personality has a different set of abilities or powers, if you will. The series isn't for everybody, but I would still highly recommend that people definitely give the series a shot and definitely check it out. Again, if you want more in-depth thoughts on it, I've done a review of the first volume already on my channel. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but I'd still highly recommend checking it out because it's one of the best books from Marvel now, in my opinion. Up there with All New X-Men and Thor God of Thunder. Moving over to the Ultimate side of the Marvel Universe, and we have the first volume of Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Comics The Ultimates. This is absolutely fantastic and features artwork by Isa Ribic, who I talked about briefly in part 1 of my Marvel collection overview, who's working with Jason Aaron on Thor God of Thunder, and also has worked with J. Michael Straczynski on the 4-issue miniseries Silver Surfer Requiem. Now, this first volume collects the first 6 issues of the series. I'll probably pick up Volume 2, if only for completionist sake, because Hickman's run ended and then Sam Humphries took it over after Hickman left. From what I understand, I've heard pretty mixed things about Sam Humphries' run on the series, but I've heard that the Sam Humphries run and the newest writer to come on board the series, Josh Rahel Fialkov of The Last of the Greats, I, Vampire, Tumor, Elk's Run, and Echoes, they kind of tie into one another. So I may check out the Sam Humphries Ultimate stuff on the library, and then if I hear good things about Fialkov's run, I'll pick up Fialkov's run in trade when it comes out, because Fialkov is new to me until recently, until last year when I read the first volume of I, Vampire, and then the 5-issue limited series, The Last of the Greats. But his storytelling is absolutely fantastic, and I definitely want to check out what Fialkov has to do with the Ultimates in the Ultimate Universe. Next up, we have another Bendis series, and that is Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, which follows Miles Morales as the new Spider-Man after the death of the Ultimate version of Peter Parker. Once again, Brian Michael Bendis is doing a fantastic job on this series so far. I only had the first 2 volumes. I know there's a volume 3 that's out already. Again, I'll hopefully pick that up at some point. Here's volume 2. Along with Brian Michael Bendis' fantastic writing, we have some equally fantastic artists again. We have the likes of Sarah Pacelli, David Marquez, Chris Samney, who fills in for a few issues in this second story arc. So, like I said, the artists that Bendis is working with on his series that he's working on are equally on par with the writing and the storytelling, and the fantastic dialogue as is pretty synonymous with anything that Brian Michael Bendis writes. So those are the first 2 volumes of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. Now we move over to my little mini recommender section. We have Uncanny X-Force, Volume 1, The Apocalypse Solution. This was my first exposure to Rick Remender as a comics author, and the first time I read this, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I've read it at least 5 times now, in due course with reading the other subsequent volumes of the series. Still absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the darker X-Men books, or if you're a fan of the premise of a team which comprises of basically the assassins of the X-Men, then Uncanny X-Force is the book for you. Over the course of the first 4 volumes, we do see some changes to the team's roster, but we have Wolverine, Deathlock, or a Deathlock robot. We have Deadpool. We have Psylocke, Phantom X, and Archangel. So that was volumes 1 and 2, which are the the Apocalypse Solution and Deathlock Nation story arcs. Here we have the Dark Angel Saga Book 1, which is volume 3. Absolutely fantastic story, both parts 1 and 2. Especially reading the 4 volumes back to back. Just an absolutely fantastic 2-part story revolving around the Dark Angel persona, or Archangel, and basically visiting the Age of Apocalypse storyline and dimension, if you will. Here we have volume 4, which is the Dark Angel Saga Book 2. I've reviewed the first 3 volumes already on my channel, so if you want again more in-depth thoughts on it, I've already reviewed those on my channel. I've also got a pre-recorded review video of volume 4, which is the Dark Angel Saga Book 2, which I'll be uploading in due course. Then we move to volume 5, which is the Otherworld story arc. Now, this might be the first less than stellar review that you might see from me, not only on this series but on my channel in general. And just to clarify something before I move on, everything that I read and I buy and I review on my channel, that's in my own personal collection, and I've done a few library trades here and there where I've borrowed trade paperbacks or graphic novels from the library, which I thought were really good and merited talking about over the course of a review video. Everything I review on my channel, it is positive, but that's only because everything that I buy and that I pick up on a regular basis and I read in my own personal collection, I really enjoy. Granted, there've been some stuff from the library that I've read is just absolute, I found it either boring or it didn't grip me, and I wasn't really invested in the story. Trying to think of some examples. For example, Watchmen. When I first started reading graphic novels or trades about 5 years ago, when I first started reading comics as a whole, I basically jumped in at the deep end. I picked up Watchmen, Sandman, Volume 1, Preludes and Nocturnes. What else did I pick up? Ultimate X-Men, for the Tomorrow People, which is the first arc in the Ultimate X-Men series, in the Ultimate Universe. The first 2 volumes of Mark Millar and Brian Hitch's run on the Ultimates. Now, Sandman I loved, and I read the entire series from the library again years ago, and I've just now started picking up the volumes and adding them to my own collection. The Ultimate stuff by Brian Hitch I thought was good, but it wasn't sort of, wow, I need to go out and pick up the volumes. Watchmen, I got halfway through it on my first initial reading of it, and I was about to put it down and not pick it up again, because I thought it was building to something, but it wasn't much payoff. But then when I read the entire 12 issues by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, absolutely fantastic story, and it might be shocking to some of you, but I actually don't have a copy of Watchmen in my collection. as of yet, but I will rectify that when money permits. So anyway, that was the Otherworld story arc, which, like I said, might be my first less than stellar review from my collection on my channel anyway. Here we have Scarlet Spider, Volume 1, Life After Death by Chris Yost and Ryan Stegman. This is where I get into a lot of trouble with Peter Parker fans. Now, you guys out there, or guys and gals, don't shoot me, but I really like a darker take on Spider-Man, and Scarlet Spider or Kane and another series which I'll get onto shortly really give me that dark Spider-Man fix. I know myself and Scott Grady, we both really enjoyed this series. I know Volume 2 is currently out. I will pick up Volume 2 eventually. Next up, sticking with the darker Spider-Man books, we have the entire run on Rick Remender's Venom run. This series basically focuses on the alien symbiote known as Venom, and also Eugene Flash Thompson, who many die-hard Spider-Man fans will know as the school bully that basically bullied Peter Parker when he was in school. But then we have Flash, who's joined up with the armed forces in the US of A, but on a mission that cost him the use of his legs, and he's now in a wheelchair. The government basically came to him with a deal and said, if you wear the alien symbiote known as Venom, you'll become Agent Venom, and essentially a super spy kind of a super soldier in his own right, while wearing the Venom symbiote. But the catch is that Flash can only wear the Venom symbiote for 48 hours, otherwise it'll completely bond with him and take control of his body completely. Over the course of the first arc, we really explore Flash as a character. His love life is basically pretty much down the drain. He's a recovering alcoholic. He has some serious father-son issues with his father, which is perfectly shown and beautifully told in issue 5, which is the final issue in the first volume. Absolutely fantastic series by Rick Remender, and I will pick up the Cullen Bunn stuff eventually, as I've heard some pretty good things about it. Next up we have Circle of 4, which is technically volume 2, although it doesn't say it on the spine or anything, but it does follow on directly from where the Spider Island tie-in issues started, which I believe are issues 6 through 9, I believe, and then this series picks up with issue 10, because issue 6 through 9, as I said, were part of the Spider Island event in the Spider-Man books, and it was a kind of a crossover between Venom and Spider-Man during that time. And here we have the final volume of Rick Remender's run, which is the Savage 6. Absolutely fantastic series, highly recommended. And this collects the full issues 15 through 22, which caps Rick Remender's run, and then Cullen Bunn took over with issue 23. Again, if you want more in-depth thoughts on it, I've done reviews of the first of the 3 volumes of Rick Remender's run on my channel. Next up we have a series from the 1970s, from Marvel's horror line, if you will, and that is Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan's Tomb of Dracula. This first volume collects the first 12 issues of the series, with a really cool Neil Adams front cover, and on the back we have the cover to issue 10, which is a Gil Kane cover, which features the first appearance of Blade in the Marvel Universe. I haven't got around to reading these as of yet, but I will do eventually, as my fellow comic book fan and fellow Preacher fan James Donnelly swears by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan's run on Tomb of Dracula as being the best of the Marvel horror comics that came out during the 1970s. There was also a Werewolf by Night series, and there was also a possibly a Frankenstein series as well, from what I understand. Well, that might have been DC, I'm not sure. But anyway, here's volume 2, which collects issues 13 through 23, plus Werewolf by Night issue 15, which is the origin of the Werewolf by Night character, and also Giant Size Chillers issue number 1, which might have been a one-shot actually, I'm not sure. Anyway, here's volume 3, which is the final volume that I have, which collects issues 24 through 31, and Giant Size Dracula issues 2 through 4. I know there's another 2 volumes which are the essential trades, which collect the entire series in black and white. I'll probably pick up volumes 2 and 3 just for completionist sake at some point, to have the full 70 issue run by both Wolfman and Gene Colan. Here we have Werewolf by Night in the Blood. It's a 4-issue mini-series which is written by Dwayne Straczynski, who's also writing the Bloodshot series from Valiant, and is illustrated by Miko Soyen. Again, I haven't read this as of yet, but I picked this up from Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham, as I did with Daredevil Guardian Devil by Kevin Smith, which I showed off in part 1. For £4, I think this cost me. So this collects issues 1 through 4, plus Tomb of Dracula, issue 18, and Werewolf by Night, issue 15. And the final 2 books I had to show you from my Marvel collection, and that is the first 2 volumes of Peter David's X Factor series. Now, I know this series is currently up to volume 19, I believe, and volume 20 is due to come out soon, which is the Hell on Earth story arc. I will pick up the later subsequent volumes at some point, but this is basically an X-Men book that has none of the main X-Men characters in it, but it's still absolutely fantastic, and it's X-Men or mutants meets a private investigation agency. So we have, I know the team changes over time with the later volumes, but we have Jamie Madrox, Banshee, or Teresa. Surprised I'm remembering the names. I haven't read these for a while. Renee Sinclair, or Wolfsbane, Guido, or Strong Guy, and Richter. So, I believe Layla Miller shows up in the next volume, which is volume 2, Life and Death Matters, which collects issues 7 through 12, sorry. So anyway, that about concludes my the Marvel part of my collection, guys. As always, thank you everybody for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. But as I always say, if you thumbs down the video, please feel free to tell me why in the comment section below, or send me a private message. If this is your first time here, please feel free to subscribe. And until next time, this is Gambit896 signing off, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.